I'm Leslie Juvin-Acker, and this is the story of my near-death experience. My near-death experience happened not even more than a couple of months ago here in Castelnaudary, France. I was asleep. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30, and I felt like this kind of cramping sensation in my abdomen. I thought it could either be menstrual cramps or just gas. So I felt the urge to get up. So I got up and I went to the water closet that is across the hall from my bedroom. And I sat on the toilet thinking, okay, do I need to pass gas or what's happening? I went to the bathroom and then all of a sudden it was almost as if everything just started to power down, like, and I knew something was not right. So I yelled to my husband, help. So I said, help. And he says he heard me say it twice, but I only remember saying it once. And in that instant, I was gone. Like I just was like, whoom, like right out of my body. It's as if like a wind, I was pulled out, but more accurately, it felt like I stepped out. My husband came and got me. He said he found me kneeling face first on the radiator that was directly across from the toilet. And he tried to lift me up, but I was not there. He said I was so heavy. And I do remember in that moment, a part of me saw in my body, saw him trying to lift me up, but I was not there. And all of a sudden, I fell backwards from a tunnel, a blue lighted tunnel right here, because this is where I came out. I came out here and then I fell backwards. So imagine this sensation of falling through a tunnel backwards, a blue tunnel of light, and I thudded back in my body. That sensation was also coupled with this awareness that my husband and my two children were yanking me by this string. They yanked me by this string, and that sensation was what pulled me through that tunnel of blue light. And in that moment, I'm back in my body. But in that moment between leaving my body and falling back into my body, I was in a place. I call it the place between all things. It's the space between all things. It was black and velvety and warm and comfortable and cozy, as if I was being held. There was like it felt like 1,000 presences invisible around me, and all of them looked at me and they loved me. I couldn't see anything, it was just all black. And the sensation I tell people is, imagine the best cup of coffee you've ever had in your life on a cozy morning, laying in the best, cozy, perfect temperature sheets in your bed, the perfect temperature tub, whatever like experience for you feels like the most like perfect, like Goldilocks sensation. I felt that, and I felt like I was cradled by love. Like, and the only thing in this space was an intelligent, all encompassing love. And I really liked it. I really liked it. And I did not want to come back. It was like, you sure I can come back? But in that moment, I knew I had to come back because my husband and my children energetically pulled me back. They yanked me through that tunnel. And so I'm in my body. But I have to say something about that tunnel. I saw that tunnel the night before when I was taking a shower. I didn't realize what I was looking at. I was taking a shower. I had been in the pool. I went to the pool. I went out of the pool and went to the shower, and I was cleaning my hair. And when you clean your hair, your eyes are closed. And I saw this like spinning vortex of blue light with a black center. And it was like this turquoisey, indigo-y blue light right here. And I just thought to myself, because I'm so used to seeing spiritual things as a psychic medium, that this is my life. I just thought, oh, well, that's curious. That's cool. I wonder what's that. And I just didn't think any more of it. I just went on with my day, living my best life. Everything went as normal. So fast forward, I'm back in my body, and my husband had called emergency. I did tell him help. And I guess like while he was trying to lift me up and I was simultaneously in my body and simultaneously out of my body, I did tell him to call for help. I just said, call for help. And so he did call for help. And I remember laying there on the ground and thinking, wow, it's taken a while for these firefighters to come, because we literally live like 2 city blocks away from the firehouse. I'm thinking this is going to take a while. But I knew I was okay. Like I felt perfectly fine. Like I just kept thinking, I'm perfectly fine. Everything's fine. And I knew also simultaneously that I was healthy. Like they were not going to find anything wrong with me. Like I just knew it. I knew it, that I knew that I had this thing. And the funny thing was as I had stepped out of myself, again, it's like, and as I explain this more, you'll come to understand that there was like this part of me, like this little part of me that was here in my skull, and then the rest of me, the real me, was out of my body. And I remember hearing at the moment I stepped out of my body, cardiac arrest. So that's important for later. And so I'm in my body, and my daughter, who is 12, comes out. My husband's like, Mommy's on the ground. She's going to be okay. And my daughter's like too scared to come to me. And I find out later she was kind of hiding behind the door looking at me. But I didn't want my daughter to see me that way. And I did not want my 10-year-old son, who's very sensitive, to see me in this state. It would have traumatized him. So telepathically, I was saying to my son, this part of me that was in my skull was, stay in your room. Don't come and see me. And the interesting thing was the firefighters, paramedics came and they were working on me, and my son never left his room ever, which is weird because he's the first to always leave his room. He's the first to wake up. He's the first to leave his room. He's the first to leave the house. He's like a little man. And on this day of all days, he stayed in his room the entire time, from the minute I collapsed to when I had left in the ambulance. Later on, my son said, oh, I just thought they were construction workers because we've been renovating our house. I just thought they came early and I didn't think about it. So there was some kind of diversion that kept him in his room, which was right next to the water closet. So the paramedics come and they're talking to me. And as they're talking to me and I'm aware, I am conscious, my eyes are open, I can see through my eyes, which is like weird because what I'm going to tell you kind of contradicts that, but I can see. So I don't know if I can see through my eyes or if I can see through this third eye. I don't know. I can see. But also through this eye, I can see this glimmering being, big glimmering being out of me, looking at me, which I know is me. And they come and they do all their checks to see if I had a stroke. They lift my arm. They talk to me. They ask me what day it is. They ask me like the date. I didn't know the date, but I knew the day and my name. And they said, okay, well, she's fine. She doesn't have signs of a stroke or a heart attack. So they look at me, and as they're looking at me, I'm again, my eyes are wide open, and I'm looking up at the young man who's talking to me, and he's saying things to me, and I'm responding. But then he's taking the flashlight and looking at my eyes, and he's like, "That's weird. She's conscious, she's talking, but her eyes are not moving. They're not responding." And of course, they're saying all this in French. He's like, "We need to take her in." So that's why I wonder now, like, was I seeing through this eye or was I seeing through my eyes? Because he said that my nothing was dilating, nothing was moving. It's just my eyes were wide open. So they put me in a kind of chair because I live in a multi-story home with a spiral staircase. There's no way they can put me on a gurney. So they put me in a chair and they carry me into the ambulance. And the ambulance is right in front of the house. They put me in it. And from the time I woke up to the time I'm in this ambulance and forward, I feel like I'm gorgeous and good. Like I feel so great. Like I don't know. I don't take drugs, but I imagine if that was like the drug, if that was a drug, if that sensation was the same as a drug, like you feel so good, you feel so relaxed, you feel so like happy, you feel so at peace and serene. Like if that is what drugs is, I get why people take drugs. I just get it. I understand. I do not judge because that sensation was, I felt like I was wrapped up in a warm, cozy blanket, like the best electric blanket, and I'm a baby and I am cuddled in somebody's arms and they're looking at me with love. Like that's how I felt, even though I'm totally like ugh, lifeless, like a limp fish. And the they're putting me they're strapping me down. They tell my husband, you can it's going to be a while, you can come later to the hospital because they're going to run some tests on me. And my husband sent my son to school, my daughter stayed home because she was really concerned. And and as I'm laying in that gurney in the ambulance, I see again this sparkly light in front of me, but it's like 10 feet tall, standing outside of the ambulance, getting bigger, dancing, just dancing like one of those car sales lot dancing air machines with the long hands, and is just dancing and happy and feeling so good. And I'm looking at, which I know in that moment, myself, my true, real self, my soul, my being, my essence. So there's this part of me here, which I now know and realize I call the lower mind, this conscious mind. And then there is the larger part of myself, the God part of myself, the light part of myself, which is made of pure light, pure energy, pure love. And I see my higher self just dancing, just dancing, having a good time, like feeling like I'm having the time of my life. I'm finally out of that tiny, minuscule, cramped body, and I get to dance and have fun. And I'm looking at myself going, are you serious right now? You were so unserious. But I realized, like, I'm not serious. I'm always laughing. I'm always having fun. I'm focused. I do my business, but I'm not serious. I just refuse to be because it hurts too much to be serious physically. And so I'm seeing myself for the first time. This glittery, white, perfect, pure light, loving and living La Vida Loca dancing in front of me. And I say to myself, wow, so unserious, so unserious. Just like what is happening? And the man's talking to me, and I want to close my eyes at the same time. I want to fall asleep. I want to sleep. I want to sleep so bad because this lower part of me wants to go back to that dark, cozy womb of creation. I want to go there. I want to go back. Take me back. And I want to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, off my right side, a guide steps forward and says, if you fall asleep, you will not wake up. Keep your eyes open. And at the same time as the spirit says this to me, the young man looks at me and he says, Madame, keep your eyes open. Don't fall asleep. But I want to fall asleep. Like, I go, I'm so tired. I want to fall asleep. I want to go to sleep so bad. And I just keep saying it over and over and over again on the 8-minute drive to the hospital. And even after I get to the hospital. So the ambulance starts to take off and we get the motion and we go on this main avenue, and on each side are giant sycamore trees, and it's very windy and breezy. And as we take off, my soul lifts up and flies in the sky, but is attached to this like silvery string to my belly button, and is flying like a kite, touching the sycamore leaves, feeling, and simultaneously as this is happening, I'm feeling myself in this gurney or this stretcher thing in the ambulance. I'm also sensitive and aware and feeling and thinking as if this higher part of myself, just having the time of my life, floating like a kite above this ambulance on this string, touching the leaves, feeling the breeze, feeling it just kind of moving around, floating and flying as I'm following this ambulance to the hospital. And I can feel myself getting bigger and bigger, this higher part of myself, this light part of myself getting bigger and bigger and just having fun and so happy. And that's how I knew all was well and everything was going to be fine. So we get to the hospital, and as we are at the hospital, they put me in through the emergency entrance, and they put me in through that side hallway where they put you in. The nurse comes to check us in, and they come to drop me off. And I see this big giant part of myself. And I think, as this part of myself, ah, crap, I have to get into this tiny little building now. And I could see this me, the higher part of me, the real me, cramping down and going into the building, kind of going under the big doors, cramping in and shrinking, goong, 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 just so it could fit in the building. And I simultaneously feel, just full on relaxed, just cozy, relaxed, going with the flow, not fighting it, not resisting it. But I also see as this other part of me, like, oh, it's so cramped, it's so small, I got to go back in again. It's so tiny in here, I feel so big. And then the nurse comes to me. And again, I'm not in any clothes or makeup or eyelashes or, jewelry, nothing. And when I don't have any of this on, I look like a teenage girl. And the nurse comes up to me. She looks at me. She goes, "Okay, on a petite jeune ici. Like, we have a little youngster here." And then she looks at my chart and she sees that I'm late 30s. And she goes, "Oh, madame." She realizes that she's misaged me. And so she treats me a little bit more seriously, I guess. I don't know. Or like less kid hands. And so then firefighters, paramedics leave me with the nurses and they move me into a room. And the doctors and everybody's so quick, and they are testing me with an EKG. They're doing blood tests to see what's going on with me. And then eventually they move me in for a brain scan. But as I'm waiting for all of this to happen, I just feel this sense of sleepiness. And I kept saying to myself, I'm going to go to sleep so bad. And I could feel my higher part of myself, the real me, who I really am, just at the side of the bed to the right, just kind of standing there. And like, I had a choice. I could choose if I wanted to fall asleep and not wake up or stay back. But again, simultaneously, when I was being pulled from that other side by my husband and my children, I was then being shown in this room the choices that I had. And one choice was, okay, I fall asleep and I don't wake up, and this game's over. And my husband would raise our kids alone. He would not remarry. And then I saw how he laid me out at my funeral, and I would be laid on kind of like a arrangement with flowers all over me. He would be very sad, but I heard they would be fine. But the thing was, is that I also saw the role in my family's life. And I saw my husband and my two children. I realized in that moment, like it was so clear and so apparent how serious they are. They're very serious, very scholarly, um, very practical people. And I, on the other hand, I saw myself was silly and singing and laughing and dancing and adventures and play and like loud and social. And I was just like the exact opposite of them. And I saw myself in my family dynamic as a puzzle, and they were the puzzle pieces and they were these colors. I was this color. And as a group, their seriousness balanced me, and my lack of seriousness balanced them, and we were like the perfect fit and the perfect family, perfect puzzle. And I realized like that was the role that I played in my family life, and that I still had work to do to help them fulfill all their purpose and all their goals for this lifetime that they individually had before they came in here. So that was like the job that I knew I had. But the simplest job I knew was like just to bring the vibe. And I have to flash backwards to the ambulance because, again, it's so weird because, like, I'm telling you all this, like, kind of like in a timeline, but all of this is kind of happening all at once. Like, I don't know how to explain that. There's no time in this experience. It's only just everything happening all at once, and you are instantly aware of everything all at once as you're going through this moment. I don't It's just a weird, like, physics, reality, time warp thing. I don't know. I just have no idea how to explain that. So rewind back into the ambulance as all of this thing is happening. I'm wanting to go to sleep. My guide's telling me not to close my eyes. I see my soul. I see myself flying. Simultaneously, I see the people in my birth family. I see my mom, I see my brothers, I see my dad, I see different people. And I realize at that moment, they don't care whether I live or die. Like, they don't have that care. They don't care. They will continue moving on with their life, and that's the end of it. And I saw and I knew in that moment, like, all the people who had ever hurt me, who were ever unkind, who ever left a negative comment, who were mean to me, who mistreated me, who sexually abused me, who assaulted me, who lied to me. Like, I saw every single person in my life who was ever cruel to me. And I knew and I heard, I don't know, you say telepathically knew, these people don't have any love. And I knew in that moment, and I heard, you have no love, and therefore you have no love to give. Like, people who do things like that don't have love to give. There's no love there. There's no love at all. Like, any love that they could have exists outside of their lower mind. They're not attuned to it, and they couldn't give it to me. And in that moment, I forgave everyone who's ever hurt me. My mom, my brothers, my dad, everyone, every person from when I was born to now. Like, forgive them all, and forgive them all going forward. You can't hurt people if you have love in yourself. And if you are hurting people, there's no love there. And I knew that, and I learned that, and I accepted that, and I appreciated that, and I respected that. And I no longer judged them, and I didn't judge myself, and I didn't feel like, what did I do to deserve that? They don't have no love to give. It was really that simple. And at the same time of this experience, I I see my entire life flash before my eyes in less than a second, like faster than this, and everything. But it was like how I was reacting to other people, like how I was treating other people, and it was a judgment. But there was no other judge. There was nobody else who was judging me. It was me, and I was looking at it, and I was evaluating it all on a scale, like some kind of like psychic scale, measuring it against love. And I remember looking at every single instant. Like, it happened so fast. Like, I can't even, it's like a life is just a second. And I just saw it. And I realized, like, all the gaffes, all the mistakes I've ever made was because I loved too hard. And that was the only reason why I made all these mistakes, and people misunderstood me, or I got in an argument with somebody, or something didn't happen right. It's just love too hard. And I judged myself, and I said, I can live with that. It was just really that simple. I could live with that, and I forgive myself. I forgive them, and I forgive myself. I can live with that. I love too hard. Okay. And that was final. There was no other judge. There was no external judger. It was just me. I was measuring myself, my performance. And I really was measuring it against perfect love. And so I'm in the hospital, flash forward back into the hospital, and they're doing all the tests on me. EKG, they're doing the brain scan, everything. And I just knew they weren't going to find anything. But my guide, the guy next to me, said, well, you'll find out at the end, like, what you got. I was like, okay. And I'm seeing, like, again, going back to that choice. I go back into the infinite abyss of love where it's like dark, but it's light. It's the same time. I don't even know how to say it. Like, you can see the dark. I don't know. And then, or I continue to live. And then I also see myself in my career, in my social life, and every person I've ever met. Again, I measured myself in an instant. And I realized, like, my only purpose and my only job in life is just to bring the vibes. It was really that simple. Like, I heard, like, you bring the vibe, happiness, love, fulfillment, joy, laughter. Like, that's all I do. And I realized like that's all I need to do. So even when clients come to me, I'm not doing the work, they're doing the work, and I'm just bringing that energy so they can rise to that. I can bring that frequency and they rise to it, and then they live in that frequency going forward. And I realized like it's true what Joel Goldsmith said, like God does all the work. Like if God is this higher part of yourself living and you allow that to step in and live as you, that energy is enough to heal. It's enough to bring joy. It's enough to feed people because that animated fulfills all the needs. And I want to bring a statement, something that Neville Goddard had said, the birth from Algotha, the skull. Like, that's what happened to me. Like, I knew this lower part of myself, knew that the higher part of myself was encased and entombed in my skull. And then when it came out like that, then I saw myself and I realized like who I am, and I am pure love, and I am pure light, and I am pure being, and I am a life-giving force. And I wrote about that in Engineering You Mood, and I knew that on a very deep level, but I didn't see myself in that way. I didn't realize like that. And I've had dreams where I've seen love. Love is a life-giving, intelligent force that is creative and makes a way. And I so much so I have a tattoo of it on me when I heard love makes a way. And it is formless, takes all form, is formless and takes all form. And so it was like a fulfillment of all of these things that I knew on a conscious level, but then it was like living it once and for all, and like it's final and it's settled, and I know for sure 100% who I am and what I am. I know who I am. I am love, I am light, and I know what I am, what I'm made of. It is light, it is being, it is intelligence. And I don't judge myself anymore because I've always judged myself for the way that I am, just silly and joyful and helpful and all these things, and feeling like the world didn't want that, didn't appreciate that, didn't love that. And I felt very much rejected by the world and by my family. But I realized in that moment of all the people that I made a positive impact on, that was exactly what they needed for me to truly be myself. So I go in and the Frank finally comes. He comes into the room and he is sobbing like I've never seen him sob in his life. And he's like, he was so scared, and he told me all these things about how he appreciated me, his side of the story, what had happened. And then the doctor came and he said, Madame Juvin-Acker, you are perfectly 100% healthy. I knew that. He's like, we don't have evidence of a heart attack from the EKG, cardiogram, all this stuff. There's nothing in your brain. You don't have a stroke. I'm like, I knew that. I knew I was perfectly healthy. I exercise every day, 40 minutes a day. I walk several miles a day. I eat right. I take my vitamins. Like, I do all the things. Had my blood tested, hormones. Like, I know I'm healthy on a physical level and psychologically. I know I'm healthy. But then he says what my guide said, oh, you have a sinus infection. Maybe that affected my ability to breathe and pass me out. I don't know. So then he's like, you are perfectly fine. But this is the final thing. In order for me to get out of the hospital, I had to have my soul, that light, I had to have that come back in, 100% come back in. Because if it didn't come back in, I wouldn't function at 100%. And I knew. And so I said, my lower self said to my higher self, okay, you got to come back in. So then I felt like my higher self coming back in and getting back into this body. And when I felt that 100% happen, I perked up again. I wasn't sleepy or tired anymore. I wasn't like de-energized. I wasn't wilted or fainted. I was, as you see me now, perfectly fine. And they said, okay, you're free to go. So I get dressed and they just discharged us. I didn't pay any hospital bill. That probably would have been a $35, $50, $60,000 hospital bill in the US, but I didn't have that problem. So thank the Lord. Thank you, France. Thanks for everything, everybody. Solidarity. And we go home. And that happened at about 6:30, and then we go home right when school gets out, so midi at noon. My son's coming home and he sees me and I'm fine, and my daughter sees me and I'm fine. And later on we had to talk about how they felt and process that, and we had our meals together, and it was a moment I realized for me to see myself and this was divine timing. It was the appointment. I wasn't scared at all, not at all, in any single solitary second or moment or millisecond. I was fine. I was happy. I was relaxed. I was at peace. I was serene. I was cool. I was calm as a cucumber. My husband was terrified. And so I knew simultaneously this was for him as well as a husband who sometimes doesn't appreciate his wife and sometimes doesn't appreciate how I am, because sometimes I'm just so happy and optimistic that it scares him, because he's like, how could you possibly, be happy in a time like this? And I just choose to be. He realized, he came to me and he says, I realize you choose to be happy. You choose to make the best out of your life, because he knows that I've suffered so much as a child, so much violence, so much poverty, so much abuse, so much neglect. And he goes, I realize, like, you choose to overcome all of that, and you don't allow any of that to stop you from being you. And so it was good for him from that point of view. And my son, he couldn't have handled seeing me and my daughter. It was really hard for her, and we were able to communicate, and I did some energy work with them, and they were fine after that. But I realized, like, what a gift. It was like such a gift for me to see myself. And I think since then, I have to add some things. Like, I didn't understand, like, what on the biological level. And one day I was scrolling on Instagram, and then I saw a cardiac surgeon say that a sudden cardiac arrest is not because of the machinery, like, it's not because of the pumping or whatever, the heart or the mechanism. He said it's just a power issue. And I can attest to that, that it was a power issue. Like, as soon as I stepped out, there was no more power, there was no more heart, gone. Like, I just went right out. I crawled out, stepped out. I don't know, but I went right out and there was no more power. There's no more energy. And I realized, like, all the energy comes from your soul. Something important that I feel I need to share was what I learned about where you go after you die. What I learned in that experience, having stepped into that black space, the space between everything, eternal, infinite love, the love between everything, and then coming back, I realized that where you go is determined by your frequency. And everything in this universe is determined by frequency. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I know that it's true. And frequency is sound, it's thought, it's feeling, and emotion, and kind of like your overall signature. And so if you are a kind and loving person, like a phone number, you are speed dialed to that place that you go. And if you're not, if you're a fearful person, you are speed dialed to that number, and that's where you go. And it is like this instant, like, teleportation of your energetic frequency signature. You go there. So when the mystics say, and Neville Goddard has said, and you always wonder, like, what does it mean when he says your world is yourself pushed out? Like, it is a reflection of your frequency. It is a reflection of what you hold true in your heart, your self concept, and, like, how you feel about yourself. And I felt that where I went was a good place, because I had in my heart good feelings. And I had worked to get to that point, to live in a loving, helpful, generous way, and to be a good person. That was always my goal, as long as I could remember, just to be a good and loving person. I don't mean good like by world standards, like by my internal measure stick of success. So my warning to people is that whatever frequency you are at, whatever energy, vibe, mood, aura you are at, that's where you're going to go after you die. Like, I don't, I do not feel that everybody goes to the same place. So some people who have near death experiences, they go to this one place, and then some, they go to another. I think it's just because you are going to your frequency match. And it might be your beacon home. It might be your beacon to a place where you need to reevaluate yourself and you need to see things. But I feel like you go where you need to go. You go you go to see the reflection of what you're holding on to. Like you get to see that. Like you literally get to experience that for yourself, what you have. So it is your world pushed out kind of deal. I know that's so abstract to explain, but that was exactly what I learned from that experience. Like I knew it just like that. So whatever emotions and feelings and mood you have, that is your experience. And when you go on the other side, you go there. And I realized, like, for my past life, which I remember glimpses of, I was a woman who didn't love myself. I didn't receive love from the loving family that I have. I looked in the mirror and I hated what I saw. And in the next lifetime, I picked two people to be my parents who neglected me, who didn't love me, were mean to me, so I could learn to love myself. But I also had a job of helping them. So you end your life this way, you pick up and you have work to do. And and you get to decide what that is. You get to choose. Nobody else is choosing for you. You choose if you want to do it or not. That's your job. And so I realized, like, the real work is evaluating what's in your heart and how and what you hold in your heart, and you are experiencing yourself in your life experiences, what you hold in your heart. Um, so it's an interesting thing. It's such an abstract thing to explain, but I realize you have to take responsibility for your psychological state, for your choices, for your mood, and for your growth. And when you do, you get results and you experience what's in your heart, and you get it back. So I guess you could call that karma, but it really is that the world and life is a mirror, and everywhere you go, whether you're living or you have crossed over, is that you're going to see the mirror of what you're feeling, and you get to choose and change it. There was somebody who had passed over who came to see me, and again, I keep repeating, I share all these things, but like I said, everything's happening all at once. Like all these things I'm telling you, all these realizations are happening all at once in this experience. So I saw my husband's great uncle, who is his mother's uncle, and his name was Robert, but I called him Bobby. And I saw him, he appeared to me when I was in the ambulance. And of course, I'm half falling asleep and I'm hanging outside of the ambulance in spirit form, dancing around. And as I laying there and we're going, I also see him, and he's standing against a stone fence, a stone wall. And behind him is this gorgeous field. And he is not like an older man like he used to be, because he lived to be a very old age. And when I met him, and I only met him once, he was an older man. Gosh, 70s, 80s. I want to say 80s, 90s. He was old. And he was just leaning against this stone wall, and he was looking at me, and he was just smiling, this gentle, gorgeous smile. And he was so handsome. He must have been in his like late 40s, early 50s. And I remember thinking and looking at him like, oh my God, he is so fine. Like, he is so handsome. And I remember when I met him when he was alive, and calling him Bobby because we just clicked. Like, there was just something in us, like our hearts connected. And even though I was like this young 20 something and he was like this older man, there was like this love. And I don't mean like a romantic, like boyfriend girlfriend love, but just a love. And I remember looking at him going, if and I were the same age, he would have been my husband. That's what I was thinking in the ambulance. He would have been my husband if we were in the same lifetime. Because he was just like my husband, so handsome and charming and loving and warm and masculine, but yet was tapped into his feminine. So it was a beautiful person. and he was there. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, like, why Bobby? Like, why not his grandparents who I loved with all my heart? Why not my grandmother? But it was him. It was him. And maybe because it was not my time, maybe because I do talk with those spirits regularly, and Bobby's spirit is not one that I talk with all the time, but I saw him. I saw him with my eyes. He was wearing some kind of like plaid shirt and nice slacks, not jeans, but nice slacks. And he just looked so healthy and happy and whole and well and vital and good force. And he was just looking at me. But we telepathically knew like I wasn't going to die. He was just hanging out and watching me, and he was just amused to see me, and I was just looking at him. And we were happy to see each other. I don't know, it was so weird. Like I said, like I knew like if he and I were growing up in the same time period, me and his time period or him and my time, that would have been my husband. Like I don't know, there's something there, and I knew. And so he was like the only person who came to see me. I didn't see anybody else, just Bobby. What has happened since then? Let's see. More expansive than ever before. Um, one of the things I could see was like I would go out and I could hear and feel, but not in a painful way or anything. I could hear people's desires, and if they were a good person, if they weren't a good person, if they could be trusted, if they weren't be trusted, if somebody was cheating on their partner. I mean, I remember seeing a couple in Paris and hearing it was so funny because I was seeing the couple and I could hear like she was with the guy for his money, but she didn't make enough for his money, make enough. She didn't think her boyfriend made enough money. And then the guy who was with her thought that she was with him for his money. So they were both right. So like I could see these things of people, and then I could feel even more people's intuitive gifts. And as they were doing like, a psychic that I went with, he was doing a session with me, and I could see like his guides stepping forward. Like I could see people's guides, and I could see like how they were doing and how they were looking at things. And so with this one particular guy, I could see that his guides were showing him, they were taking him from a psychological metaphysical perspective and putting him here so he could see somebody's like mind, and he could like look at like the layout of their mind. So I could see things like that. um I, of course, don't have fear. I had like a kind of a near death experience. I almost suffocated to death, but I didn't die. And in that moment, in that time, that was in 2011, or 12, like that time. And I felt like I was suffocating. As I was suffocating, I felt like I was like trapped in my body and I wanted to get out of it. And now knowing what I experienced with this near death experience was like, oh yeah, because your soul is like completely trapped in like this kind of like tiny little candy wrapper, and once they break out of like a bubble wrapper that's like been super wrapped like a I don't know, like a toy or something, and you got to cut it really hard, and you can't get it out, and you want to rip it off, and it's like that sensation of wanting to rip off your body, and so you could breathe again. And at that time, I wasn't really afraid of death. I didn't wasn't afraid of death, but and I haven't been afraid of death since that experience. But now, so I'm not afraid at all. Like, of course, everybody gets like afraid of heights. You don't want to fall, or like somebody comes out for you, you get shocked and stuff. Like that's different. That's circumstantial. But in terms of like fear, I don't live with fear in my heart. I don't have hate in my heart. I don't have a lot of things in my heart, and it's so easy for me to manifest. And I could see things. If thoughts are things, for example, I can see a thing in my mind, and then I'll get it. If that I thought it was a thing. So we think thoughts are nothing. They are things. They are literally things. So if you bring a thought into your mind and then you feel that and you see yourself with it, because it is a thing, it will externalize in your world. So everything is externalizing in your world. And the other thing that I learned was the expression, James Allen and the Bible, and Neville Goddard says, whatever a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I could feel my heart chakra, like I could feel like everything I thought about myself. And it was good. because I had done the work. I've done the works for a very long time, spiritual work. I done the work. I overcome so many things. I'm so proud of myself for that. And I saw my heart, and it was a good heart. And I was very proud of that. And I felt like this was like a report card. Like I could see my performance. I could see my growth as a human being, as a soul, as a helpful person. I could see what I've achieved spiritually. Yes, there's material gains, lots of material gains, but that is a reflection of what is in my heart. Everything that you feel that you are in your heart, you are. And you, better for worse, you have to take stock of what is in your heart. So don't have anger in your heart. Don't have fear in your heart. Don't think things are going to hurt you. Don't have revenge in your heart. Like all of these vices, don't have them, because they will hold you back. And if you are hurting people, it's because you don't have love and you haven't let your soul in. They say, like, let Jesus in. It's really like, let yourself in, let God in, because what you are is a part of God, and that is the light of God. So you have to let that in, live and dwell in you, to live as you, to express as you everything that is your soul. And it is good and it is whole. I felt like I wouldn't call it a healing experience, because I didn't, from that review, I didn't feel like I needed to be healed. It was such a helpful experience to me, because it affirmed everything I knew on a cognitive level, on a mental level, everything that I had learned. But it was like the total affirmation. Like, so when somebody tells me something about religion, or judge me, or say I'm schizophrenic because I can see spirits, like with my eyes, I can see them. I don't care, because I know exactly where they are in their heart. I know exactly if they got love or not. I can size them up in an instant just by the way people act. And I am so happy and whole, and all the H words that are positive, happy, whole, like wholesome, like, you know what I mean? Like healed, all these things, and I saw like the difference I made in everybody's life. In that instant, I saw the difference I made. And that is such a motivator. So if I show up into space, I'm happy to be alive. Like that feeling of I'm so happy. That's the H word. I'm happy to be alive. This is a gift, that I get a body, that I get a life, that I get people to love, that I get to show up every day. And I know how to manifest. I know how to show up. I know how to receive. I know how to give. Um, and I want to spend the rest of my life helping other people to discover who they really are, to get to know their own gifts, to to tap into their intuition, to create the life they want, to be happy, to be themselves, which is happiness and love. So that was my near death experience, and I know how old I'll be when I pass away, and I'm okay with that. I know, like, I just know a lot of things, and I'm so happy. And I think the final thing I want to say, because there's so much more that I've learned, I couldn't even articulate all of it. Um, it's integrated in me, I guess you could say. But one thing is like, if you are on social media, if you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram and these things, and people give negative comments to you, what I learned and what I was shown and what I see is that those people are giving you life force. And the thing is that when you operate solely on your lower level self, your smaller self, this little person identity ego that you have, you only have so much energy. And it's like this. And when you are negative and hurtful and you are destructive, you are draining yourself, you of your life force. And that's why you get burned out, and that's why you get sick, and that's why you die. And when you're not in touch with that higher part of yourself that is flowing through that lower part of yourself, through your body and into your life, like you don't get that everlasting flow of rejuvenating light, love, energy. You just don't get it. So you're draining yourself. And I realize, like, when people are negative and nasty to me, they are feeding me their vital life force. And I can tell you, it feels, it tastes, it smells, it's awesome. It's like the purest essence, and it is nourishing. So even if people are negative or nasty to me, they are feeding me their life force. So this is a warning to anybody who's watching this. If you are negative towards me, I just say, thank you. I love you. I forgive you. But check yourself, because you reckon yourself. Because you are feeding me your life force, and it is nourishing me. It does not hurt me at all. It doesn't take anything away from me. If anything, it helps me. So thank you. I forgive you and I love you. And I hope you meet yourself like I met myself. Um, and I do believe, And I do believe that if you allow it, the rest of your life could be the best of your life. And I hope everyone who watches this is happy and healthy and not afraid. And if you've ever been through any kind of violence or abuse or mistreatment, remember those people don't have any love to give. They're only giving what they got. And yeah, what an exciting journey. What a great journey. I'm very happy. And any person that I meet going forward who I talk about this, I share with open heart and open arms. And may you be free. May you realize who you really are and get in touch with that everlasting part of yourself. Amen. And thank you for watching this. I appreciate you.